Good morning and thank you for joining this session. I am SUVARNA, employed at the South African National Biodiversity Institute, SANBI, and I am responsible for the management of the Institute's citizen science programs. Citizen science mobilizes volunteer capacity from the general public using technology to provide input and feedback to pure science, management, and policy. The significant features of South Africa's rich biological heritage and the pressures on its biodiversity has inspired South Africans to become involved in conservation projects. Citizen science is strengthened by key NGOs that support the work of government to ensure the conservation of biodiversity, thus transcending geographic, taxonomic, and ecosystem boundaries. Citizen science true value has only recently been realized with the expansion of technology and the need for data to support policy decision-making. There is a range of citizen science projects across South Africa that can be grouped into observational, virtual museums, habitat assessments, maintaining taxon dictionaries, data useful for climate change, and specialist datasets. SANBI provides sector-specific knowledge and evidence to improve the outcomes for biodiversity and its contributions to human well-being. Data collected from the regular monitoring of species, ecosystems, pressures, and utilization of natural resources are crucial for use in species and ecosystem red list assessments. This monitoring is a huge task and can be assisted by citizen science platforms that allow people across the country to contribute to monitoring efforts. Such monitoring also gives important feedback to researchers on where to expand monitoring. The reduction of government resources available for biodiversity conservation and monitoring means that SANBI must make optimal use of all human capacity, harness applicable technologies, intellectual leadership, and knowledge to achieve surveying and monitoring to inform policy and conservation actions. An example of observational citizen science is the Custodians of Rare and Endangered Wildflowers, CREW, a national citizen science program within government collaborating in the implementation of the National Strategy for Plant Conservation and funded by the Botanical Society of South Africa and a family-owned Mapula Trust. CREW involves citizen scientists directly in field surveys and monitoring of key sites for plant species in priority parts of the South African landscape. Citizen scientists are trained in plant identification, provided with information to survey and document the occurrence of plant species of conservation concern, identify which endemic plants require conservation in their particular region, and are linked with their local conservation agency. Our citizen scientists volunteer a collective of 13,000 hours annually, which is equivalent to 4.5 years of plant monitoring undertaken in just 1 year. The detailed data collected is extensively used for feeding into national and international reporting on the status of biodiversity via the IUCN Red List. The three CREW nodes, Cape Floristic Region, Eastern Cape, and KZN, coordinate CREW groups to survey plant taxa of conservation concern, which include species occurring in critical habitats as well as undersampled areas. Apart from conserving plants in situ, the CREW program collaborates with the Millennium Seed Bank Partnership funded by Kew Botanical Gardens. Since 2016, CREW citizen scientists collected seeds for 7% of threatened plant species banked by the MSBP. The CREW program is dedicated to develop skills in plant conservation sector as well as with biodiversity stewardship programs. Through citizen scientists' frequent monitoring throughout the year leads to rediscovering species thought to be extinct in the wild. These are just 4 examples of such rediscoveries. The latest was just last week, whereby CFR citizen scientist Brian Dupree shared his 4th rediscovery, Aspalathus complicata, at a site threatened by invasive alien plants and agriculture. This species will soon undergo a change in red list category to critically endangered. I would like to now take you through the journey of CREW data. The National Red List provides distribution records of the taxa of conservation concern. These species listed in the threat categories critically endangered, endangered, vulnerable, as well as near threatened, data deficient, and rare. CREW nodes assign species to the CREW groups according to where each group is based and annually host planning meetings with each group to determine the species to be surveyed for that field season. Specific data collected is captured into the CREW database, which feeds into the National Red List database. This process is currently being streamlined with primary data collection via iNaturalist. Red List scientists assess each species using the IUCN Red List categories and criteria, herbarium specimens, and literature to assign a Red List category, which is published online and used in various land use decision-making tools. The Red List website is updated annually, where CREW input is explicitly acknowledged. Crucial threat notes made by our citizen scientists provide an up-to-date picture of the landscape. With modern technology, citizen science biodiversity participation via online platforms is rapidly increasing. iNaturalist's annual City Nature Challenge event has become popular, with Cape Town breaking records in its maiden participation last year. This year, despite the COVID-19 lockdowns, the 4-day City Nature Challenge yielded higher stats than previous years. 5 South African cities participated, with Gaborone sneaking in. The Great Southern BioBlitz was started after Australian organizers for the Global City Nature Challenge decided that the Southern Hemisphere needed a BioBlitz during the spring explosion of life. Of the 155 regions that participated, Cape Town and Garden Route once again topped the records. As citizen science work evolves, so too is the CREW program. Despite our initial nervousness of our network moving to an online platform, we have streamlined our data collection process, allowing for all age groups and communities to collect data on plant species of conservation concern. The statistics speak on the powerful engine iNaturalist is to our work, with just under 20,000 species being contributed by CREW citizen scientists. A few years ago, SANBI was requested by the Department of Environmental Affairs to provide input into the land use screening tool to determine which species are highly threatened. Although the Red List team could provide this data, it was evident that there were not recent records. Thus, CREW began focusing on surveying critical habitat species that occur in a range of less than 10 kilometers squared. These cryptic species have been a challenge to locate, though we persevere. This work is one of the 4 criteria that feeds into identifying important plant areas for plant diversity. African traditional medicine is a large sector in South Africa which contributes to job creation and supports healthcare. Overexploitation of medicinal plants in South Africa is now one of the major challenges facing conservation agencies and traditional healers. Many local extinctions have been observed, whereby material is increasingly being imported from Mozambique and Zimbabwe. Of the just 2,000 plant species used in traditional medicine, 56 are listed as threatened. As an extension of our crew work, we are currently involved in engaging with the Ehlonzeni District Municipality in Mpumalanga Province, whereby relevant stakeholders are engaging to prioritize 5 threatened medicinal plant species for the development of biodiversity management plans, as well as mass cultivation. A similar exercise is planned for KZN Province in the near future. The CREW program is committed to building skills in the sector. 36 previously disadvantaged individuals have been trained via the program, with 2/3 of these having found permanent or long-term employment within the biodiversity sector. The CREW program engages with a host of higher education institutes across the country to promote plant conservation. We conduct a lecture on plant conservation, showcase the red listing process, and take students out in the field to survey for plants. Closely linked to the Botanical Society, we reach out to learners via the BotSoc branches or with the CREW groups that focus on environmental education. The CREW program hosts summer and winter school programs as well as celebrate environmental important days. The long-term goal is for plant conservation resources to link with school curriculum, though this is out of the CREW program's scope. With the current explosion in numbers and types of citizen science projects, there may be increased competition for volunteers in the future. While contributing to scientific knowledge is a key motivating factor for citizen scientists, the CREW program provides feedback, good project management, and skills development as our mechanism to retain our volunteers. We also host 2 annual lessons exchange workshops over a 4-day weekend, which bring our citizen scientists together with plant specialists, botanical experts, and conservation agencies. I would like to thank our funders, the Botanical Society and the Mapula Trust, who are absolutely crucial for making all this work happen, as well as our citizen scientists who meticulously monitor and conserve our plants. I thank you for listening.